best of the gridiron.
All right. Welcome to the Gridiron. Maybe if you give this video a thumbs up or maybe share this video, that would be absolutely freaking awesome. If you subscribe to my channel, thank you. If not, please go down below, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell icon. That way next time I go live or if I put a video out, you'll be notified. And it's free of charge. What do you got to lose, right? But if you are subscribed, thank you. It means so much to me. If you want to help support my channel, the top link in the description box takes you to my membership page. I got 3 different membership levels. Each one has their own little perks to them. So once again, if you want to help support my channel, it would mean so much to me. And I thank you in advance. Thank you. And then finally, also, just a little ways down in the description box, there's a link. It takes you to my Facebook group. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. We have over 9,400 members in the group. It's growing daily. It's doing simply marvelous, might add. Basically, if I'm alive and breathing, and if I got internet access, I'm putting stuff in that group darn near 365. It's called the New York Giants, the Gridiron. It's my Facebook group. Please join it. You will not be dissatisfied. I promise. All right. Well, how about them cowgirls, huh? Woo-hoo-hoo. Taking it on the chin. Got a losing record, 3-4. Man. Oh, man. Well, we can probably pretty much chalk those losers off for the season. That doesn't seem like they'll be repeating as NFC East champions because you got 2 teams that both only have 2 losses. The Cowboys got 4, and they were this close to actually having a 5th loss. If the game that my son and I went to, we went to Pittsburgh, a couple Sunday. It's a couple Sunday nights back. Well, the Cowboys won Sunday Night Football once again, but it was like, I think they were down at the 4-yard line, whatever it was, 30 seconds to go in the game. Basically, it was all or nothing. It was 4th down at the 4. The Cowboys were losing 17-30. They had to score a touchdown. Couldn't kick a field goal. Had to score a touchdown. It was 4th down. I think it was Tolbert. I think that's who Dak hit in the corner, very front corner of the end zone. The defender was there trying to knock the ball out and all, but Tolbert did a good job of securing the ball, came down with it, and got the touchdown. But, I mean, if they don't get that on 4th down, they could be – the Cowboys are close to being 2-5. Wow. So they're 3-4. Don't look very good. And once again, it's just all these things that just like kind of pisses you off about, about the Giants, let's see here. I mean, the 49ers had like 200 and something yards rushing. I know, I realize I get it and all that stuff and everything there. I gotta find it here. Well, scoreboard. I mean, our offensive line is better, yada, 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 all that stuff and everything. Oh, there we go. All right, box score. I mean, they don't even have McCaffrey, the 49ers. And they ran the ball 36 times, 223 yards, 6.2 yards a carry. 223. Giants ran it 24 times for 26 yards. I mean, it's like, but anyway, looks like there'll be a quite possibly changing of the guards down with the Cowgirls after the season. Maybe McCarthy makes it because they still got a tough schedule. They got they still got to play the Eagles twice. They got to play the Commanders twice. They got some tough games coming up. They got some very tough games coming up. So, whatever this is, because I'm an idiot. Year 342 in a row that there will not be a repeat winner in the NFC East. Wow. Huh? Anyway, if you didn't get a chance, it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff here. Basically, the Giants obviously honored their great longtime owner, Wellington Mara, the Duke. It was named Wellington after the Duke, the Duke of Wellington. They named him Wellington. But I believe it's like with NFL films and all, they came up. I think it's about 45 minutes long. I don't know if it's on like NFL channel or this or that. I don't know. I saw it on YouTube. So if you whatever you type in, I guess Wellington Mara, the Duke, or the Giants, the Duke, or something like whatever. I'm sure his video will pop up. It was pretty good. I mean, the guy, when his father Tim Mara bought the Giants in 1925 for $500, Wellington was just like originally he was like the ball boy. He was 9 years old, and I think his older brother, if I remember correctly, I think. Jack was 14, I think, at the time. I think 14, somewhere around there, 14. But anyway, his older brother was older. But I think it was 1930. His father, Tim, basically handed the ownership because, Tim but Tim had his father had a lot, he was a bookkeeper, so he had a lot on his plate. So basically, but he gave, like the ownership rights and all that everything to Jack and Wellington in 1930. So, Wellington Mara was the co-owner with him and his brother of the Giants when he was 14 years old. Could you imagine nowadays? I don't know, with 14. Maybe, I guess you're a sophomore in high school. I guess. Could you imagine being a sophomore in high school and just walking in into your high school? And, yeah, that's right. I'm the owner of the Giants. Yep. How you doing? Right? You know how good you'd look to all the girls? Oh my God. You're half owner to what are they worth? Like $6 billion, somewhere around $6 or $7 billion. Could you imagine all the girls? Ooh, huh? Oh man, you'd be the most handsome guy in the world. Let me tell you what. I mean, could you imagine that? 14 years old. He became part owner. The one he was always on like the personnel side. His brother Jack ran like the business side. So between the two of them, they were just like, I mean, it was a match made in heaven. The problem is that early 1959, Tim died. His father died. He was getting up there in age. But the problem was, in 1965, his brother Jack died. Relatively early in life. Somewhat early. So all of a sudden now, Wellington was, his whole life basically he did the personnel side. So now he was trying to maybe with somebody else came in, who like inherited Jack's portion of the team. But, Wellington was trying, for the most part, trying to run the personnel and the business side and things. That was right in the middle. That was right in the beginning, shall we say, of the wilderness years, basically from 64 to 80, where the Giants had 2 winning seasons, no playoffs, nothing. So things, finally when George Young came in 1979 as the GM, and he drafted Phil Simms, right? Things started turning around, but things were, it was a while there. Things were not very good at all. But Wellington was, if you just look at the video, I mean, he was one of the first guy to take. He was up in like the stands. He was taking Polaroid pictures of like the other team, regardless of whatever they were on offense or defense, just taking Polaroid pictures, and take the pictures, pops out, and I guess you wave or whatever like that. It develops, and I think he said he would put him in a sock or something like that, and put him in a weighted cleat or something, and he would. I don't know if they had a line. I mean, he said he was throwing him down to the sideline or something along. Maybe he walked down and he threw him, whatever it was. But he got him down to the sidelines, and they were his team was able. The Giants were able to look at some of these Polaroid pictures, and also he was one of those first ones to start doing that. But he was very instrumental as far as with scouting, recruiting players and bringing them in and everything. It was just really a very well done. It's only 45 minutes long. I mean, you realize the guy was, he was 80 years he was with the Giants. I mean, that don't happen very often. 80 years. I mean, usually, if somebody like nowadays, one of these billionaires buys a team, well, the guy's not, unless he was born, or his parents just gave him $10 billion or whatever, most of these guys, if they're somewhat self-made, you probably, at least to be a billionaire, you should, probably at least maybe 30, 40 years old or so. So it's almost darn near impossible nowadays for somebody to come in, buy a team when you're 30 or 40 and be with the organization for 80 years. It don't, So Wellington was 89, when he passed away in 2005. So from 1925 to 2005, it's just he's one of the patriarchs of the NFL. There wasn't many of them, not many of them. George Hallis passed away, quite a few years before. I believe he passed away in the 80s, I think it was. But Mr. Mara. You just kind of almost took him for granted. Because when I first started watching in 1970, so he was 16. He was like 54 or so at the time, somewhere around there when I first started. And he was there for another 35 years. So he almost just took him for granted. He was always there. A lot of the players that you see in his video talking about him, like, who's that guy? Who's that old guy? He's there every practice. A couple of the players mentioned me. There's probably other players that mentioned the same thing too, but maybe not a lot. Some of them actually maybe knew who he was, but he was there at every practice. He always wore like a fishing hat or just a baseball cap with a giant. He wasn't dressed in a 3-piece suit or something like that, but he was there every practice. You heard some of the players you'll see in his videos, like, who's that old guy? I think Lawrence Taylor might have been one of them. He's like, who is that old guy? That's the owner of the team. Yeah. So, but a lot of the players really thought a lot of him. Because with the same thing with John Mara nowadays. Wellington, he was like, he was for the fans. He would actually return. I don't know if he did all the letters or not, but he would get letters from fans. They would write to him, and he would answer them in his own. That ain't happening. He would go out of his way. He would read them. He wouldn't, to try, I'm sure, to be able to respond to as many as he humanly possibly could. I'm sure he didn't give a 17-page return, response to their question, but he responded to questions. As I said, if not all of them, most of them, and that's pretty unheard of. He was always there, like in the locker room, like maybe after the game. Just thanking the players and stuff like that. So he was, he cared a lot. He cared a lot. They said his name, the Duke. If you ever look at the pro football, right, it says the Duke on it. Well, that's him. I think he was responsible for negotiating for the footballs. I believe that they said. And I think they said George Hallis recommended that they put his name, not Wellington Mara on it, but put the Duke on there because of what he's meant for football, what he's done, and everything like that. So every time the there's a football out there that has his name, the Duke on there. So I mean, it's very well done. I mean, the dude was around. I think from 1941 to 45, he was in the Navy, and oddly enough, this is something that I can actually relate to. He was on a ship called the USS Randolph. Well, interestingly enough, my father-in-law served on the USS Randolph as well too. Not at the same time, because Wellington was 16. So he was probably about 25 years older than my father-in-law was. But my father-in-law, well, if Wellington served on it in like 1941 to 45, my father-in-law served on it probably like around 1960, somewhere around there. He was a little over 20 years old at the time when he served. I mean, Wellington had to do it because of World War II, right? But my father-in-law went into, he enlisted in the Navy. So they both served, interestingly enough, on the USS Randolph. And there was a couple of times, because my father-in-law was in charge of like the reunions for the USS Randolph. And it was a couple of times that the Giants actually contacted him about getting some memorabilia from like maybe the Randolph, I think this was after Wellington passed away. So I think it was like in 2006 or 7. They actually contacted my father-in-law a couple times about getting some stuff, some artifacts or whatever, anything from the USS Randolph. And at least a couple times, my father-in-law sent stuff from the Randolph to the Giants front office. And I'm not sure what he sent. My father-in-law has since passed, so I can't ask him what he sent. I forgot. But he sent stuff to the Giants. They requested, something from the Randolph, which I said, interestingly enough, my father-in-law and Wellington Mara both served on the Randolph. I said, not at the same time, but they both served on the same ship. And because of that, interestingly enough, because my father-in-law sent stuff to the Giants from the Randolph, there was 2 times that my son and I, we went to the Giant Stadium. It was Giant Stadium at the time, when the Cowboys played, and we actually got on the field beforehand. We got passes, and we still got them. So my father kind of worked a deal. So he just sent this stuff for absolutely for nothing. But in the meantime, actually, he got a couple signed autograph footballs. One was Justin Tuck, another was Eli Manning, and I think I got another one too. Oh, I got a signed football, signed mini helmet too. That's what I got. But also, as I said, because my father-in-law sent them stuff for the Randolph, 2 times my son and I, we got on the field before the game to watch the guys. We weren't standing on the sideline before the game, watching the teams warm up and everything like that. It was pretty cool, really pretty cool. But I said, I mean, the guy was around for 80 years, 1925 to 2005. With the Giants. Okay, that's absolutely amazing. So, I mean, the video obviously could have been a lot longer. I read a book on Wellington Mara. It was a nice book, very, very nice book, very well written. I can't remember. I'm too much of an idiot. I can't remember who the author was, but he did a very nice job, and I read it. And it spans his whole life, pretty much. So I mean, so the video could have been a lot longer, but they kept it to about 45 minutes. It was very tastefully done. There's a lot of, Michael Strahan's in there, Jeremy Shockey's in there, Tiki Barber's in there, Eli Manning's in there, Ernie, of course, he's in. A lot, Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin's in it, Bob Papa's in there, Phil Simms is in there. So there's a lot of guys, a lot of real nice guys in there, and as I said, very, very well done, and just fantastic. And just absolutely, we don't realize how lucky we were to have Wellington owner as an owner. And just one other thing before we move on to our next portion of our program here. It was it was back when they started. I think it was. I think he said 1960. I think it was 59 60 when they got a new television rights deal, because they got a television rights. The NFL did, and then the AFL got their own television rights. Well, what it was one of the things that Wellington, stood for was he wanted like equality, right? Meaning he wanted everybody to get the same amount of money. So all the money came in from the television deal, right? Whatever it was. It was 12 teams. Actually, it was 13 teams because the Cowboys just came in. So say it was $13 million. Just throwing a number out there. I have no idea what it was. So in 1960, say the television deal was worth $13 million for that 1 year. Well, what he did was he said every team should split the share, right? That way, every team could develop, pay their own players, develop, and all that. Instead of having, because he being in New York, you get more views, you get more people watching, and everything like that. If he did it, it's like, well, let's get whoever gets the most television views and stuff like that they get the more money. Whoever gets the least views, they get the least money. It could have been something like that. And then New York would have had the bigger share of the pie. And then like a team like Green Bay, right, with Vince Lombardi, they would not have hardly made any money because they're such a small market. Nobody's going to be watching them, right? So they would have had a hard time paying their players, keeping good players. Meanwhile, the Giants would have gotten the lion's share of the revenue, and they could have brought in good players, they paid good players more money, and maybe dominated. But Mr. Mara did not want to do that. He saw the bigger picture. There's a law. It's called give and you shall receive. Well, he gave and he received. Right. So he thought, big picture. Everybody, got the piece of pie. Everybody gets the same amount of pie. Share the revenue with everybody. So I said Wellington Mara was a very, very special man, and we were very, very lucky that he was our owner. Very lucky. For 80 years. But I seen this and it's like, man, I'll tell you what, even Notre Dame is making the Giants look bad. Well, that's not hard. I mean, the way the Giants have been playing lately, it's not hard at all. But I see this. I mean, because what they basically play. Notre Dame could go on Mars and play, and they'll sell out. They'll get 100,000 people there. Notre Dame and Navy too. Navy's a big draw too, right? But I mean, Notre Dame doesn't matter. Notre Dame could be 0-10. Doesn't matter. Notre Dame is going to draw. You bring Notre Dame into a stadium. Guess what? It's going to sell out. And interesting, because a lot of times what they do with Notre Dame and Navy, a lot of times they play them at different stadiums. Well, interestingly enough, the new or the newer Washington. Actually, when I went there, they were the Redskins. Hope I don't offend anybody, but it was in the mid 90s, 96, 97, somewhere around there. They played in Washington, Notre Dame and Navy. Me, my son, and my son's friend. We drove 3 hours down to Washington, and we watched Notre Dame play Navy down in Washington. So basically what they try to do with those two teams, a lot of times they play them at different stadiums. Like they play maybe Yankee Stadium. Well, this year they played them in MetLife Stadium, right? So they played them all over the place. But just making fun of the Giants and the Jets and their scoring, or shall we say the lack of their scoring. I mean, Notre Dame put up 7 touchdowns. Oh, my God. What an embarrassment. What an absolute embarrassment. All right, so we got Notre Dame's blowout win over Navy somehow makes the Jets and the Giants look even worse, if that's possible. It's not easy, but if that's possible. Notre Dame absolutely dominated Navy during their Saturday college football game at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey. The Fighting Irish blowout win managed to make the Jets and the Giants look even worse than they already do. Neither NFL team has had much success finding the end zone while playing on their home field, which was not the case for the collegiate counterpart. Notre Dame and Navy play each other every year. They do. They play every year. There was a point in time, I don't remember exactly when it was. It was probably back, it was either in the teens or the 20s. Somewhere around there. Notre Dame was had some financial difficulties. And I can't remember, somehow Navy helped them out. I don't know if it was they played a game where Navy gave them some money to keep them afloat or something like that. But Navy helped them out financially. And I said, this was about 100 years ago, if not maybe even a little bit longer. But Navy helped them out financially. And whoever out of the president of Notre Dame at the time or whatever, it meant so much to him, Notre Dame football, everything Notre Dame to actually keep them afloat. What Notre Dame, said, this is 100 years ago, and it still holds true. I said every year we're playing Navy because now it helps Navy out. Back then, 100 years ago, I can't remember if Navy, they played Notre Dame in a game and it helped get Notre Dame some money. But Notre Dame was in somewhere along the line, there were some financial difficulties, and Navy helped them out. And I said, whoever the president of Notre Dame was said, something along the line, if we ever get back on our feet or something or whatever, we play Navy every year to thank them. And, see, nowadays, I guess both universities, they split the money or whatever it works out. But, Notre Dame still paying Navy back, and they always will every year. Navy, Notre Dame, every year they play each other. Even if the two teams are on opposite ends, if Notre Dame could be number one, Navy could be worse than a high school team. Notre Dame's playing Navy every year, and this helps Navy out. I mean, Navy could sell out maybe some smaller stadiums and stuff like that, but obviously MetLife Stadium is 80-something thousand seats. And then I guess that they get, I don't know, whatever they get, some of the concessions and stuff like, I don't know how that works out at all, but Navy made themselves a nice little chunk of money, right, by playing Notre Dame. So this has been going on for a long time, and every year Notre Dame will be playing Navy forever. I mean, forever. So write it down. But Notre Dame and Navy play each other every year. The former generally plays its home games against the Midshipmen at Notre Dame Stadium in South Bend. The latter usually plays its home games against the Irish at a neutral site, because the neutral site can hold a bigger amount of people, and it's going to sell out. It doesn't matter what stadium it is. It doesn't matter. It's going to sell out. So they want the biggest stadiums that they can get. And this one says here, I think it says in this one here. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. The Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium holds a maximum capacity of only 34,000 people. Notre Dame Stadium fits 77,622 people. MetLife Stadium holds 82,500. So Navy was the home team. Anytime they go abroad, right, either somewhere else in the country, Navy is the home team. Well, the Navy was the home team at MetLife, but because they moved to MetLife, they brought in an extra 50,000 people, a lot more money, right, for Notre Dame and Navy to split. So, I mean, I said Navy sells out, but I don't know if they're going to sell out an 82,000 states. 82,000 seat stadium. Notre Dame can. So no matter where the quasi-rivalry game is played, it always sells out. Yep. And because of the massive fan interest, playing the game away from campus at a bigger venue typically makes sense, even though it takes away from the atmosphere in Annapolis. That it does. I mean, that is a shame. Because it's with these colleges and all, I mean, just some of them, the atmosphere is just freaking unbelievable. Just you could literally spend the rest of your life going to different different stadiums and the different things that they do, and just almost any stadium. It just or you get some of the rivalries. It just. You could literally, if you went to like one game a year for 50 years, you could probably still have a ton more to do. There's just so much. I mean, but going watching a game in Navy is something special itself. An Army Navy game, holy cow, what an event that is. I mean, you can see it on the TV, but man, what an event that is. And it's such an event, and all they do is run the ball. Each team at the end of the game, Army threw 3 passes while Navy threw 2. Both teams completed 1 pass, though. I mean, it's like each team runs the ball like 75 times in the game. It's just, but it is what it is. It's exciting, right? Let's see. Anyway, it was announced way back in 2021 that this year's college football game between Navy and Notre Dame will be played in East Rutherford for the 8th time in history and the first time since 2010. So this is the second time it was played at MetLife Stadium. All the other times it was played at Giant Stadium. And they got a picture on this one article here. It shows that the whole place is sold out and everything. The 11th ranked Fighting Irish scored 51 points. The 24th ranked Midshipmen scored only 14. Here's where the Jets and the Giants come into play, or don't come into play, shall we say. The New York Jets played 3 home games so far this season. They scored only 5 touchdowns during that stretch. But it gets worse. The Giants have played 4 home games so far this season, and they've only scored 1 touchdown during that stretch. Giants have played 4 games at home, scored 1 touchdown. Notre Dame played only 1 game at MetLife so far this stadium, and that's all they're going to play. So it's just 1 game at MetLife Stadium, but they scored 7 touchdowns in 1 game. So the Jets and the Giants combined for a grand total of 6 touchdowns in 7 games at MetLife Stadium. 6 in 7 games. The Fighting Irish exceeded that total in just 60 minutes. They played 1 game. They scored 7 touchdowns. Obviously, Navy's defense is not comparable to that of the Vikings, Cowboys, Bengals, Patriots, Eagles, Broncos, or Bills. Still, Saturday's amateur football game in New Jersey somehow managed to make the state's 2 professional football teams look even worse than they already are. And that's pretty hard. But, I mean, they played Navy, but then again, it's Notre Dame. That's a college team too, so it's a college team playing a college team. But I mean, it just kind of, Notre Dame scored 7 touchdowns in 1 game. There, I mean, the Jets scored 5. Jets scored 5 touchdowns. Giants scored 1. So between the 2, they played 7 games there. Grand total of 7 games. They scored a grand total of 6 touchdowns. My God. That's so pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. And speaking of possibly pathetic, oh my God. Well, I think it seems like Illuminor kind of mentioned that he's playing. Thank God. Because if not, if Illuminor can't play, then you'll notice how I spell Watt, though. Right? Not W-H-A-T, it's W-A-T-T, the player on the Steelers. So, I mean, but I don't. Do we really want to say? I mean, after last week's debacle against the Eagles, they had 11 sacks in 5 games. Somehow we made them look better than the 2000 Ravens. I don't know how. We gave up 7 sacks in 1 game. So that was with the Zudu there. Now, could you imagine going up against the front? Now, the Steelers don't have a lot of, but they don't necessarily maybe blitz a lot. They don't have a lot of sacks. Watt leads, I think, has 4.5. I think Cameron Hayward has 3. I mean, they don't have a ton of sacks, right? But there's a very good solid. We're going to go over some of their defensive stats and all that and everything. But just a very good, well coached team. They really do a very, very good job. But I mean, against Watt only's got only. I mean, still you figure they played 7 games so far. So you figure if he gets say half the sack, right? That means in 8 games, halfway through the season, I'll have 5 sacks. So, I mean, just double that. It'll have close to have double digits in sacks, pretty much once again, right? But I mean, could you imagine if we had to put Neil over there and Illuminor? Zudu. Whew. Oh my God! Wow, because they're going to have a hard enough time with Cameron Hayward in the middle. I mean, that guy's just he's. What a beast that guy is. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. But I'll tell you what, if we got to put Neil in there. And Coach Dable did not have in this article here, Dable gives an ominous warning about Evan Neal versus the Steelers. This is if he goes in there, but we're going to go over something in just a moment here. It seems like Illuminor has a good chance of playing. So Brian Dable is under no illusions about what Evan Neal is in for if the New York Giants draft flop has to start against the Pittsburgh Steelers and former NFL Player of the Year T.J. Watt in Week 8. Neal has been on the bench this season. I mean, he hasn't. He realized. I mean. I keep looking and all. I mean, do you realize? I mean, I don't even think he's even had a snap this season. Can you? I mean, pick number 7. I mean, you don't even want the guy on the field. I mean, like field goal block. I mean, field goal kicking. I mean, block anything. I mean, you don't want the guy running out. Maybe after somebody kicks a kick on, he can run on the field. Maybe grab the tee, run off something, anything. Be a water boy, run out on the field. Hey guys, want some more something, anything? You know what? Pick number 7 to go on the field. What? Oh my God! And the other thing, it's kind of making me scratch my head is that are we? Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Are we gonna? I would think about maybe slide him in to maybe the inside position as a guard or something like that? Or no. We're going to keep him a tackle. No, if he sucks, well, we'll just cut him. Are we going to try him inside? I mean, I hope we don't do the Eric Flower kind of thing. Well, they kind of asked Eric Flowers to move in. I think he said no, right? But it actually wound up being his best position as a guard. So when he changed teams and they put him in a guard, he was serviceable. Right? He was not very good at all, obviously, as a tackle. But let's hope, hopefully we get the guy on the field for something. I mean, my goodness. But Neal has been on the bench this season, but the 7th overall pick in the 2022 draft could be called into action on Monday Night Football. So, I mean, Illuminor might say he's playing. He might start and all that. But say he winds up getting injured. We could be in trouble, guys. Amid injury doubts about veteran Jermaine Illuminor, the Giants also have problems at left tackle, where the team is still searching for the right replacement for injured All-Pro Andrew Thomas. Big Blue's right side is the bigger issue, and Dable doesn't sound confident about Neal having to take the field against Watt. The head coach gave an ominous response. And this is you can listen. He talks when he's talking to the press on as he does pretty much like most of the days during the week. The head coach gave an ominous response. Well, he has a significant challenge ahead of him, Dable said, with Steelers linebacker, edge rusher, whatever you want to call him, T.J. Watt, lining up over there. He's done everything he can do to be as prepared as he can be, and he has to go out there and do it. But certainly a tough challenge to be the first time out. Neal entering the fray would be a precursor to doom for the Giants. The Lions surrendered 7 sacks against the Eagles last week when only Thomas was missing from the lineup. Now, could you imagine if Thomas and Illuminor are missing? Wow. A swarming Steelers pass rush led by Watt and 2 more dynamic edge defenders looks likely to feast on hapless and besieged quarterback Daniel Jones. Evan Neal could get a surprising reprieve against the Steelers. Neal worked with the first-team offense during practice on Friday, according to Ryan Dunleavy. It might be the first step toward an unlikely career redemption arc for Neal. No, I highly doubt it. The former linchpin of Alabama's offensive line has endured a nightmare trying to adjust to life in the pros. He hasn't been able to respond to speed off the edge, nor counter stunts and twists that are run against him. Neal's struggles have seen him passed over by bringing Illuminor. So we brought in Illuminor, and now all of a sudden Evan Neal is on the back burner. The latter has played guard, but he soon won the right tackle job with the Giants. That and the Giants not being willing to let Neal step in for Thomas has some thinking the former top 10 pick should be traded. Neal is a forgotten man, but that could change after Illuminor hasn't been able to practice due to a hip injury, leaving head coach Brian Dable no more than hopeful before practice of the starters' game day availability per Dunleavy. But, Illuminor, I think as he tweeted out, he said, "I'm playing." So that could be really good for the Giants. Giants Steelers injuries. Right tackle Jermaine Illuminor listed as questionable, but obviously questionable is better than doubtful. But there are, there's a grand total of 8 players who are out. 3 for the Giants, 5 for the Steelers. Now it's going to help the Giants out. We'll go over the injuries in just a minute here. But it sounds like Illuminor is expected to play. The good injury news for the Giants heading into Monday's game against the Steelers is that right tackle Jermaine Illuminor is trending toward playing. Thank you, God. The bad news is that they could be exceptionally thin in the defensive secondary. Illuminor was listed as did not practice on Saturday due to a hip injury, but the veteran offensive lineman has promised to play Monday night. I think he'll be okay, head coach Brian Dable said Saturday, but I can't guarantee it. I mean, hey, just say something. Okay, he's going to play. He's going to start. Okay, great, but that doesn't mean that something won't happen or something else might pop up. You don't know, and he might have to come out. I'd say the Giants are already using Joshua Zudu at left tackle in place of Andrew Thomas, who's out for the season after foot surgery. If Illuminor can't play, Evan Neal will get his first snaps of the season at right tackle. Oh, my goodness. Illuminor took to social media Saturday night with a simple message: "I'm playing." So, several Giants cornerbacks are dealing with injuries. Shockingly, Adoree Jackson's still injured and will miss a second straight game with a neck issue. Starting outside cornerback Cordell Flott, that guy's always hurt. I mean, he has some nice flashes, but the guy weighs like 42 pounds. The guy's always injured. I mean, we need to get somebody to either take his place or back him up or whatever like that. We need somebody because he's not reliable. He was limited in practice participant on Saturday and is doubtful. Trey Hawkins is questionable with an ankle injury. Giants have two cornerbacks, Art Green and Greg Stroman, on their practice squad. It won't be a surprise to see one elevated for Monday night. Punter Jamie Gillen, the Hammer, will miss a third straight game with a left hamstring injury. Special teamer Ty Summers will be sidelined due to an ankle injury suffered against the Eagles. Another bit of good news is that edge defender Brian Burns, who hobbled through last week's game with a groin injury, does not have an injury designation. That means he will play. Burns has also been dealing with an Achilles injury. So the three Giants who are out is Adoree Jackson, Ty Summers, and the Hammer. Right now, none of those guys is really any, has been really. I mean the Hammer, but he's the punter, right? The punter Hawk we have in there has been doing an okay job. Ty Summers is a linebacker, but he's a special teamer now. But then Adoree Jackson, it seems like he's been injured almost every week this year. Who's doubtful is Cordell Flott with his groin. Questionable, we got Jermaine Illuminor and Trey Hawkins. But it sounds like Illuminor is playing. Let's see. Guys, practice participation did not practice was Illuminor and Summers, Gillen, and Adoree Jackson. Guys who were limited in practice is Dane Belton with a calf, Brian Burns, Cordell Flott, Trey Hawkins, Jack Kubas, and Dexter Lawrence. But Lawrence is expected to play and Burns is expected to play. Thank goodness, because we're going to need our defense. Because I don't know how many points we're going to wind up scoring. We might score like 1 point. Might be the first time in NFL history a team scores 1 point in a game. Giants lose 23-1. So, but the Steelers, they got 5 guys who are out. Roman Wilson, a hamstring, a wide receiver. One of their linebackers got a hamstring. Nick Herbig, another linebacker, has got a hamstring. They got 3 guys who got hamstrings. Zach Frazier, their center, is an ankle. And offensive tackle Dylan Cook is out with a foot. But Frazier, their center, so they're going to have a backup center in there going up against the sexy one. So advantage Giants there. They're probably going to have to try to double team sexy as much as humanly possible, especially if they got a backup center in there. So they don't double team sexy. Sexy could, hopefully get at least 1 sack this week. It'd be fantastic. Keep that sack, the sacks up. Keep the sacks going. Let's see if we can keep the league lead in sacks. That'd be fantastic. And doubtful though is Cordarrelle Patterson, right? Their running back and kick returner. I mean, guy can pretty much do everything over his career. He guy's done a lot. Very versatile player. So they got 5 guys who are out, 1 guy who's doubtful. So they got quite possibly 6 guys. Now, I mean, of course, none of them are a huge, but I said their center is, that could be huge for the Giants. Especially with sexy there. But so the Giants got a couple guys out. I mean, we got 3 guys are out, but then you also couple that up with the fact that, Graham Gano's, obviously he's still out. Kayvon, he's still out. Thomas, he's gone for the season. So, but then again, once again, it's football. Injuries happen to every team. It is what it is. The Giants, for the most part, they'll be, I'll have a couple guys maybe missing in the secondary. And our offensive line. So, I mean, with any luck, it might just be a Zudu. Okay. The thing is, Watt, I mean, you could put him on either side, but he always seems like he's usually on the one side where Illuminor would be at. So that could be helpful. So let's hope Illuminor does a decent job at, his pass protection, because, nothing's going to be worse for Daniel Jones if he goes back there and he starts getting hit early. He gets shell-shocked early. Could be in for a long night. Long night. All right. Well, now we got the Giants defense versus the Steelers offense. Now, the one thing is with, they got a couple nice players, right? But It's not the greatest show on turf. I mean, Wilson's a nice guy. Najee Harris is a decent running back. See, I'm trying. The wide receivers don't have a ton of receptions. Let's see if this page will load here for me. Doesn't look like it wants to. But what to expect when the Steelers have the ball. So we got some stats here that matter. Giants defense gives up 21 points per game. The Steelers offense only scores 23 points per game. Passing, the Giants give up 179 yards. The Steelers only get 180 yards passing per game. Rushing, the Giants give up 138 yards per game. And the Steelers get 134 yards a game rushing. Giants only have gotten 6 turnovers all year on defense. Not good. Not good. I mean, the thing is like we're getting the sacks, but now we're not getting the turnovers. But the Steelers have only given up 4 turnovers all year long. Very good at protecting the ball, I'd say. But this page here finally loaded. Here we go. But if you, let's see. This is the statistics. Where are we at here? Here we are. All right, you got Pickens leads the team with 31 receptions. So, I mean, what's their record? 5-2. So they're 5-2. Basically, they win with their defense. 5-2. And actually, as I said, that Cowboy game that we went to, it was the Cowboys won on 4th down. It was all or nothing on his final play. They had to score a touchdown. Dak hit Tolbert in the front corner of the end zone. If he didn't make that catch, the Steelers would be 6-1. So they don't give up many points. They only give up 14 points a game. So the Giants probably ain't going to score many points. But I said, so in the 7 games, right? I mean, their top receiver, Pickens, who does average 15 yards reception now, he has 31 catches. So he's averaging 4.5 receptions a game. Actually, their top receiver catches 1 ball a quarter. Freiermuth has 24 receptions. He has 3.5 receptions a game. You know, I mean, other than that, they got a guy who has 11 catches. Somebody else has 10. Somebody else has 10. Warren, their running back, has 10. Najee Harris is 14. So I mean, they got, you know, they get a lot of guys involved. They got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They got 7 guys who have double digits in receptions, but a lot of them have 10, 11 receptions. You know, I mean, they don't. I mean, what do they got here? Completions, 123 completions in 7 games. What is that? 18 completions a game. Even less than that. About 17.5 completions a game they have. I mean, they don't, you know. Yeah, I mean, they don't have. Once again, we're not talking the greatest show on turf here. Yeah, they do it with their defense. Yeah, their defense shuts the other team down, and it gives their offense a good chance to win the football game. I said the Giants are going to have a tough time, very tough time, scoring points. But, oops. All right. So you got the Giants will travel to the city of the bridges to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football. Giants enter this week 6.5-point underdogs on the road in prime time. The Steelers, meanwhile, are coming off a strong 37-15 win over the Jets. The Steelers head coach threw the NFL a curveball last week with the surprise decision to replace Justin Fields with Russell Wilson at the quarterback position. The decision to start Wilson changes the dynamic of the game considerably, and it also changes how the Giants have to defend the Steelers. While Wilson doesn't have Fields' arm strength or raw athleticism, he does have a wealth of experience, and at his best is a better passer despite not having an elite arm. Stop the run. The voice of Tom Coughlin still echoes through the Giants Stadium. We're going to stop the run and play great defense. The Giants have been playing great defense, but they need to work on stopping the run after the Eagles ran for 269 yards. I mean, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. The presence of Justin Fields and therefore his rushing ability has meant that the Steelers have been a more effective running team than passing team so far. However, their effectiveness on the ground remained after the switch to Russell Wilson. In fact, the Steelers had an 84.2 success rate when starting their series with a run. Wow. As opposed to 55.6% when starting with a pass. So, I mean, if they can, look for them to take a page out of what the Eagles did and run the football. I mean, it's just nothing is more embarrassing than not being able to stop the run. It's totally embarrassing. To flatten and simple things out, NFL offenses average 6.1 net yards per attempt and 10.8 yards per completion. By contrast, league-wide, the NFL is averaging 4.5 yards per carry, and only one team, the Baltimore Ravens, average more than 6 yards per carry. Viewed through that lens, it makes sense to pass more than run on first down. On average, you're in a better position for second and third down if you throw than if you run. However, the Steelers' offensive line tends to be better at run blocking than pass protecting, and they have a good lead back, Najee Harris. Giants' best bet for slowing down the Steelers' offense and preventing big plays will be to stop the run early in the series with neutral or light boxes. That will allow them to keep more players back in coverage to frustrate Wilson and prevent the Steelers' receiving options from finding open field. The Steelers don't have many dynamic receiving threats. I mean, Pickens is really good, but I mean, this is one of the weakest offenses we've played against so far. I mean, as I said, you look at, obviously, the Cowboys have a nice offense. I mean, of late, when we lost to the Bengals, right? I mean, they had Higgins, right? Chase, Burrow's throwing the ball. Again, last week with the Eagles, they had all their weapons came back. When the Eagles didn't have their weapons, when Brown was out and Smith was out, they lost. So the Eagles need to have their weapons. If they have to go to their second string, forget about it. They're going to lose. But I mean, I said the Eagles were at full strength last week. The Bengals were at full strength. I said when we played somehow we slowed the Seahawks down against Metcalf and Lockett and Jigba. Right, we slowed those guys down. Walker, they only ran the ball like 7 times, sometimes, But I mean, as I said, the Cowboys got a good offense, and so we've gone up against some very, week 1 with Jefferson, right? And the Commanders, Daniels has it really elevated that team, So I mean, so we've gone up against some very good offenses. I mean, this is it certainly does not mean the Steelers won't put up 20-something points on us or whatever. Certainly doesn't mean that. But I mean, as far as just like looking at it, the explosiveness of it and all of that, you just don't see it with the Steelers as much as you do with some of those other teams. I mean, you can see with the Eagles, they're running, they're passing. You can see explosiveness there, right? I mean, with the Bengals, maybe not the greatest running game in the world, but you got Burrow throwing to Chase and Higgins. I mean, you can see some explosiveness there, I mean, this team here, as I said, my son and I, we were there a couple weeks ago when the Cowboys played the Steelers on Sunday Night Football. We went to Pittsburgh. We drove there. We stayed overnight, and we saw the game. And it was just very, they scored 17 points. But with about 30 seconds to go in the game, the Steelers were up 17-13. Why? Because they got a good defense. Their defense keeps them in the game. Now, their defense gave up a touchdown with about 20 seconds to go in the game. A fourth down, it was all or nothing. Fourth down, I think, at the 4-yard line. If the Cowboys don't score a touchdown, the game's over. The Steelers win. But Dak completed a touchdown pass in the corner in the end zone, right? But said they only scored 17 points, but they only gave up 13. the week one. I forgot what it was against the Falcons. They went on the road. They only. All right, let's see. What was the first score? 18-10. I mean, they only had 270 yards of offense, but they only gave up 10 points to the Falcons. So, but they scored. I mean, their offense. They won 18-10. They won 13-6. They beat the Chargers 20-10. Then they lost to the Colts 24-27. Why? Because they gave up a lot of points. And they lost to the Cowboys 20-17, the game I was talking about. But then they started rattling on. The past 2 weeks, they put up over 30 points. They beat the Raiders. They put up 32, and then they put up 37 against the Jets. So the Jets, we know, have a very good defense. And somehow the Steelers put up 409 yards of offense. But, I mean, I said, you go back to the Steelers' defense. The Steelers' defense is giving up 15 points, 13, 20, 27, 10, 6, and 10. So, I mean, you can easily see where the Giants are going to be a tough, very tough trying to score some points. So the Giants are going to need to keep the scoring down. I mean, they're going to need our defense, right, to keep us in the ball game. There's be nothing worse than being down by multiple scores and having to throw the ball. And if they can just tee off, right, and go back and just play defense, guard against the pass and all. We're playing right into their hands. I mean, because how many turnovers? I mean, the week one here against the Falcons, what do they have? They had 3 turnovers. How many sacks? I know they had a bunch of sacks. I mean, they were all over Cousins. I mean, what do we got here? I don't know, they sacked him twice, but they had to hit him a bunch of times. What was it? Turnovers. They picked off 2 passes. They really rushed them. The defense did a phenomenal job against the Falcons. But the Steelers want to base their offense on the run. They back that up with a methodical passing attack that tries to synergize with the run. I mean, they don't, from what I can remember, they didn't take a ton of shots deep. A lot of the stuff was short. I mean, they ran the ball a decent amount. There was a lot of short stuff. I mean, Justin Fields was the quarterback. Russell Wilson was on the sideline. That game that we saw. They want to try to. The problem is, if they try to attack the interior, right? That's where sexy could hopefully take over, right? If there's one area where the Giants have a clear and decisive advantage over the Steelers, it's on the interior of the offensive line. That's where the presence of sexy gives the Giants an advantage over almost every interior offensive line they face. But a cohesive offensive line group can work together to mitigate a great defender. However, the Steelers don't have a perfectly cohesive offensive line right now. They're without rookie center Zach Frazier, who is playing at a very high level before he suffered an ankle injury in Week 6. The Steelers are also without guard Nate Herbig, who I mentioned in the injury report, who was set to be their starter before being lost for the season to a torn rotator cuff. Let's see. The Steelers are also starting 2024 fourth-round pick Mason McCormick at right guard. So the interior, the Giants should have an advantage there, especially when it comes to hope against the run. So they might want to quite possibly try to maybe go around the outside, right? As far as with running the ball, but the Giants definitely should have an advantage. The The Steelers' offensive line hasn't played poorly, all things considered. They were able to hold up against a talented Jets defensive front. But this is the kind of circumstances upon which the Giants have feasted all year. Reserve center Ryan McCollum didn't have a great game, but he played relatively well enough against elite competition in his first regular season action since 2021. He's quick off the ball and is able to create movement when he gets to the second level. That said, the Giants excel with mixing pressure, simulated pressure, and stunts along the line of scrimmage. Yeah, we're going to need a big game, from Bernsey, from Ojolari, from Sexy. We need a big game from those guys. Giants will attempt to use their post-snap coverage or rotation and pattern match rules to slow down Russell Wilson's process. That will give the Giants time for their pass rush to develop, and they need to prioritize attacking that inexperienced center-right guard combination. As of this writing, we don't know how much the Giants will get from Lawrence or Brian Burns, but it looks like they're both playing. They can't depend on Lawrence to be a one-man wrecking crew in the middle, and it should have a plan in place to get Nacho, Elijah Chapman, DJ Davidson, and Jordan Riley into the act as well. Chapman in particular could be a very useful piece due to his compact frame and rare athleticism for the position. The Giants can use Davidson or Riley as an anvil, while Nacho or Chapman attack into the backfield. We should expect Wilson to process the Giants game along with the line of scrimmage quickly, and for the Steelers to have answers built into their plays. However, disruption up front, when combined with swarming play from the secondary and hustle from the defensive line and linebackers, have been the key to the Giants' defensive success. Well, I mean, we better see something from Banks. I mean, that dude better have a rocket up his butt, hustling to the ball, doing whatever he can, take down the ball, carry whatever he can do. I mean, we better not hear any more reports of that guy, slacking or taking plays off or not giving his all, nothing like that. I'll tell you what, if I'm Dable, and the season's going down, I'll tell you what, if the season's going down, I got the guys on my back, the season going down, who are playing, who are giving it the roll. I don't care if I gotta go to a kindergarten school and pick somebody up off the kindergarten who's going to give it the roll. I don't care. I am not putting somebody on the field. I don't care if you're first rounder. I don't care what you are. You're on the bench. You're not dressing. Whatever it is. If we got to address this one more time with Banks about taking plays off or not giving his all or something like that. We got to address this one more time. Guess what, dude? You're missing a game. Right? And then it just starts doubling. Right? Now we'll bring you back. Go out on the field. We got another issue. Well, that costs you 2 games. Then the issue, 4 games. And the issue, it's half a season. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what, every man to the ball. And this game would be huge. We get, keep Wilson in the pocket. He's not, the most nimblest of foot. Hopefully we get some sacks on him. But, getting some turnovers would be huge in this game. Absolutely huge in this game. But like I said, the Steelers, it's just, it's like methodical, right? They do a decent job moving the ball, but it's nothing super spectacular. It's their defense, which keeps the score low, which gives their offense a chance. You give almost any offense, especially any offense, right, that doesn't turn the ball over, they score some points, especially if your defense doesn't give up many points, which they don't. They just hang around long enough, and their offense usually just outscores the other team. But they don't have a phenomenal offense. But it doesn't mean that the Giants won't make them look like the greatest show on turf with the Rams or something. But all right, finally we got a little what to watch for the Giants and the Steelers. Just just a little preview for the Monday night debacle. I'm not, hoping for the best, but oh my God. The only thing is that what you can expect from the Giants is just, you have no idea. That's all. I mean, one week you go out to Seattle where it's very tough to play, this, that, and the other thing. And, you beat a good Seattle team, and then you come home, and in 2 weeks against teams that aren't, I mean, they don't have the greatest defenses in the world. You score grand total 10, but you have no idea what you're going to get from the Giants. Absolutely no idea whatsoever what you're going to get from the Giants. No idea. They go out to Seattle, and it's like they play a really good game. You're like, maybe we're turning the corner. Maybe we might start winning some games. And it's like, nope. Nothing can be further from the truth. I mean, the Eagles went in. They scored 37 points. The Eagles still have not scored a point in the first quarter all season long. I think it was 7-0 after the first quarter was over, and the Eagles scored 37 points in the last 3 quarters. 3 quarters, Eagles scored 37 points in Cincy. We had Cincinnati. That defense. It's between Cincinnati, between the Eagles and the Ravens. Good offensive teams. I get it. The Ravens and the Eagles in Cincinnati put up like 40 points between. Put up about 80 points, almost 80 points between the two teams in Cincinnati. Cincinnati comes to Giant Stadium. We scored a touchdown. We scored 7 points. What? We just put up, the 29 against Seattle. But, I mean, you realize, we were up 23-13, right? At one point. And Seattle scored with about, a few minutes, 5 minutes to go, scored a touchdown. But it was 23-13. And, but you realize if Eric Gray didn't fumble that ball, or if he got another 6 inches or so, 2 inches, I even saw an angle. It looked like he might even have gotten over, but it wasn't maybe a direct angle or. But if he could have gotten or just got tackled just without fumbling or whatever, and maybe punching on the next play, whatever, you realize we could have been up 30-6 at one point in that game, 30-6. And then the next week we come home against the Cincinnati Bengals, who just gave up 41 points, I think, the week before against the Ravens, and we score 1 touchdown. It's like, then the Eagles come in, we score 3 points. We can't even score a touchdown in our own house against the Eagles. So, what to expect against the Giants? You got me. We could go in there and make it a nice game and possibly come out with a win and look good, or might get blown out. It's all on the table. All on the table. So I got this thing here. 10 things to watch for Monday Night Football. Getting back on track. The Giants traveled across the country to Seattle and defeated the Seahawks. The team's most complete performance of the season. However, the Giants were unable to carry that momentum over their next 2 games. In weeks 6 and 7, the offense scored a grand total of 10 points. What a joke. While the offensive struggle can be credited for several areas, 2 in particular have stood out: the unit's lack of explosive plays and their struggles on third down. In week 6, the Giants' longest play of the game was 15 yards. The following week, the longest play went for 14 yards. What a joke. It's difficult to win games without the threat of a big play, and it's even harder when struggling to sustain drives. Oh, yeah. Now you got the all-time series here. Giants are 2-5, visit the Steelers, who are 5-2, for the third primetime matchup of the season. Monday's game marks the 79th regular season meeting between the two teams and their third contest against each other on Monday Night Football. 1991-2020 in their most recent matchup, the Steelers won 26-16. That was the one game where the Giants had the ball 2-yard line, 3-yard line, whatever it was. And I can't remember the edge rusher, but Daniel Jones rolls out to his left, and he's looking, and there's a Steeler running at him, just running at him. Daniel Jones is looking in the end zone, and the Steelers running there. It was the same thing. It was with the Bengal play when Hill was running at him. right? And Daniel Jones doesn't. Hey, throw the ball. Nah, I'm going to hold on to it for another second or two. That way, I'll give the defender time to come and hit my hand. The ball fly up in the air, and we'll get intercepted. And we won't get any points. Can't remember the defender's name. I can't remember. But Daniel Jones is looking, and his Steeler defender running at him, just running at him, running. Daniel Jones is there looking, pumping, looking, and the Steeler guys just still running at him. Daniel Jones is looking. Oh, but I mean, you can see the guy, right? Kind of got a corner of his eye, Nope, he's not close enough to me. I'm going to hold the ball. So just at the time he goes to throw the ball, pops up in the air. And Cameron Haywood, somehow the nose tackle, whatever, the defensive tackle is all the way on the one side in the end zone, catches the interception. We wound up losing at least 3 points in that. It's unbelievable. Another boneheaded play by Daniel Jones. Let's see. Pittsburgh has won the last 3 games. The Giants' most recent victory in Pittsburgh came in 2008. Remember that game, 21-14? That was a good game, real good game. They talk about Dexter's dominant start. He got his career high with 9 sacks. What makes Lawrence's performance in the pass rush even more impressive is how he comes about the sacks. 6'4", 340-pound lineman has faced a double team on 63.3% of his pass rushes this season. It's the highest in the NFL. And it's also the highest double team rate any defender has faced dating back to at least 2018. And he's leading the league in sacks. Crazy. And of course, obviously we got Burnsy, Ojulari. Those trio combined for 13 pressures, according to Pro Football Focus, while totaling 5 quarterback hits. Hurts had just 14 pass attempts and 21 dropbacks on the day, and yet PFF had the Giants down for 21 total pressures. We're getting pressures, and we're getting pressure. That's with Ojulari in there, not Kayvon, right? Giants 31 sacks on the season are 3 more than the next highest team. And actually, I think we had 34 sacks all last season. So if we to get 3 sacks against the Steelers, which is possible, that's certainly a possibility, we'll have as many sacks in 8 games as we did all last season. The problem is we're getting the sacks. We're not getting the turnovers. Turnovers would be fantastic. Right? One thing is we weren't getting maybe a lot of sacks with Wink, but we were getting some turnovers. Said we're not getting turnovers now. That's not good. And the thing is that so look at it too is like you kind of figure like with the Bowen, right? A lot of times you get the pressure with the front wall, but you might have more of a zone kind of coverage. You're dropping in a zone. You got the you kind of got you got your whatever that lizard is, eye one way, so you kind of, you got to, who's coming into your zone, but you can also keep an eye on the quarterback. So you kind of know when he's throwing the ball. So that's supposed to be helpful in the interception department. But we have 1 interception, I think, on the season. Not good. And it's from USAL, right? I mean, none of our starters has an interception on the season. And we're almost halfway through the season. I mean, the sacks are nice, but you got to get those turnovers. Sustaining drives. As Brian Dable mentioned in the quote at the top of the article, the Giants offense struggled in 2 areas in particular against the Eagles. The lack of explosive plays. Let's see. And the Giants were able to convert just 3 of 14 third down attempts in the last week's loss. 3 of 14. Including obviously 5 sacks on third down alone. Well, the thing is that they were probably third down and 37 to go or whatever, and the Eagles just teed off on them. Right? Avoiding third and long or even third and medium would go a long way in helping the Giants improve these key situations. Yeah, you just don't want the it's 3rd and 12, and the Steelers can just tee off, right, and just rush the quarterback, right? That would be horrible. He says it's hard to sustain drives if you're not creating big plays and you're not converting on 3rd downs. Absolutely. Over the last 2 games, the Giants running backs have gained 106 yards on 32 carries. It's like 3 yards a carry, 3.3 yards a carry. My God. It's not a coincidence that during that same stretch, the offense has converted on just 8 of 29 3rd down attempts. Gaining more yards on the ground on early downs would help put the offense in better 3rd down situations, which in turn would likely help the team convert on more of these attempts. Accomplishing this could be a tough task, though, this week, as the Steelers come into this game ranking 2nd in rushing yards allowed per attempt. Only give up 3.6 yards an attempt. And they're 3rd in rushing allowed yard per game at 81. So, stopping the run. Yes, absolutely. Let's say. Equally as important as establishing the run game on offense will be stopping the run on the defensive side of the ball. Despite handing the reins of the offense to Russell Wilson after Justin Fields led the team to a 4-2 start, the Steelers make it no secret that they want to run the football. Pittsburgh comes into this game with 235 rush attempts on the year, the 2nd most in the NFL. Even with Wilson starting quarterback and throwing for 264 yards last week, the Steelers still ran the ball 36 times. 149 yards. That is awesome. Awesome. Over the last few seasons, the Giants have struggled limiting opposing teams' run games. However, over the first 6 weeks of the season, the unit has done as much better job against the run. But they got the Commanders at 215 yards. Last week, the Eagles had 269 yards. I mean, we got to do a better job stopping the run. That's why I keep pounding it. Hopefully next season in the draft, we can get ourselves, or in free agency, get somebody else we can put next to Sexy, right, who's a stud, right, who can really clog it up of the run game, right? You want like 2 immovable objects in there, Sexy and somebody else. Then you got, they contain the edge, but then you got your linebackers, whether it's Micah and Bobby, right? They can, maybe fill in the holes and make some tackles. So, I mean, stopping they want to run the ball, and the one thing is that, hey, right, maybe their offensive line may not be quite as good as what the Eagles is, but I mean, they can just look at the film. Obviously, Najee Harris is not Saquon. Okay. But, they can certainly take some, look at the film and say, oh, what did the Eagles do? Oh, yeah, they did this. Okay, right? So, I said that the Steelers like to run the ball. They're decent at running the ball. They don't have somebody who's, I'm saying is that, said Harris is a good running back, but he's not Barry Sanders either. But they're going to run the ball. The Giants are going to really have to contain, the Steelers running attack. Especially if they got they don't have there's full starters in there on the offensive line. And we gotta, I mean, can't get torched like that. Phillips and Newman stepping up. With only 7 games in the season, but the Giants taking Drew Phillips in the 3rd round of this year's draft already appears to be a steal. Oh, yeah. Giants went into that draft, and they took Phillips. They had 2 guns. We're taking them in the 3rd round. Anybody got any problems with that? Is Phillips, he looks like, I'll tell you what, 3rd round pick. Oh, yeah. Fantastic. And I think as time goes by, I think Newman's going to be a decent player, very decent player, too. I think those 2 guys are going to be 2 really good picks for the Giants. Slot cornerback is coming off yet another strong outing in last week's loss to the Eagles. Phillips registered 2 tackles for loss while allowing just 1 reception for -2 yards in coverage. Wow. Despite being matched up against either Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown for most of the game. Wow. Phillips has had success in coverage throughout the entire season. The 22-year-old left the Week 3 win over the Browns early and missed the following week against the Cowboys. In his 5+ games, the slot corner has surrendered 11 receptions for 46 yards. Wow. 4 yards a reception. Freaking believable. But Phillips isn't the only rookie defensive back to get his NFL career off to a strong start. 7 games into the season, Tyler Newman leads the Giants with 48 total tackles. So our safety, is on pace for well over 100 tackles on the season if he can stay healthy. Right? So he's on pace. So maybe after this game's over, he might have 55 tackles, and we're still not even halfway through the season. But if you just double his numbers, right, after this game, he might be on pace for 110 tackles. His rookie season. Between Malik, Newman, and Phillips, I think we hit it out of the park with those 3 guys. I mean, Theo looks like, he could be, hopefully a decent tight end. I don't know how special he's going to be, but hopefully decent. And Trey, I like Tracy. I think the Giants, with only 6 picks, I think they did a very, very good job. Now, if they can duplicate that again next year, that would be awesome. If we get 3 more studs in the draft early on, man, that would be fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see. Newman has been on the field for 254 coverage snaps so far this season, and according to PFF, the 23-year-old has surrendered just 10 receptions for 88 yards across 7 games. I mean, he's given up 12 yards of receptions per game. Wow. Says here, Neighbors discusses the Steelers' defense. Malik returned to the field last Sunday. The rookie wide receiver finished with just 4 receptions. However, Neighbors was on the field for 93% of the team's offensive snaps, an encouraging sign. Overall, is 2.25 yards per route run. This year ranks 13th among qualifying wide receivers. We just got to stay on track and communicate, Neighbors said Friday, about the offense. Like I said, stay off out of third downs, create some explosive plays, and help our defense hold them down. Our defense has been doing a great job. So when we get back on the field, we've got to give our defense a break. I mean, the defense last week, early on, I don't want to say the game was ever to take him, but early on, I mean, the Eagles didn't score nothing in the first quarter. Right? But then again, neither did the Giants. Slowing down TJ Watt. Now, as I said, I don't know what they're going to plan on doing. It's I mean, if you got, hopefully Luminor plays, hopefully over there with Watt, right? Hopefully he can, take care of business. Hopefully. As I said, Watts has 4.5 sacks, so he's not even averaging a sack a game. On the other side over there, we'll have to see. If Zudu starts, we'll have to see how he does. We're going to need to give him some help over there. Yeah, you only want to keep so many guys in. You don't want to have 7 guys in protection, Daniel, and just have 3 guys out there running routes. Because Dable says that usually they try to have 7, the Steelers try to have 7 guys in coverage. So if you got 3 guys out there running routes against 7 guys, it's pretty tough to get open, right? So you want to at least have 4 guys out there, so you can't double team everybody, right? So, keeping Haywood, who gets pressure, right? The one thing is sometimes with Schmitz, he gets overpowered sometimes by bigger, stronger interior defensive linemen. So he might, have his hands full this week. Hopefully, maybe if he's in there, hopefully he'll be double teaming Haywood with Runyon, right, or Van Roten or whatever. So hopefully, they can double team him. But the more time, obviously, we can give Daniel Jones, the better, because nothing we've seen before. You start rattling the guy, game, set, match. It's over. Right? Got to give the guy some protection. Got to give him some confidence. But it's tough. It's a good defense. All right, what else we got here? So slowing down Watt and their pass rush is, it's going to be paramount, shall we say, right? Stats to know ahead of Monday Night Football. Malik needs one catch in Week 8 to become the third player in the Super Bowl era with 40-plus receptions in his first 6 career games. Now, listen to this. Check this out, right? He needs just one catch. If we can't get Malik Neighbors one catch, we just fold up the organization and just sell it to somebody. Sell it for a pack of chewing gum. Just don't even bother playing football anymore as the New York Giants if we can't get Malik Neighbors one catch. So if he gets one, and he missed time, right? But he'll be the first with 40-plus receptions in his first 6 career games. He would join Puka Nacua, who had 50 receptions, and Saquon Barkley, who had 40 receptions in 2018. So if he gets one reception, there'll be 2 Giants out of 3 players in the Super Bowl era with 40-plus receptions in their first 6 career games. 2 Giants, right? And as sadly, both of them could still be on the team, but it is what it is, right? Pittsburgh's .679 winning percentage on Monday Night Football is the highest in the NFL with a minimum of 50 games. So they have the highest, and the Giants may not be the worst, but the Giants are absolutely horrible, as we know. Daniel Jones, 1 out of 14 in prime time? So Wan'Dale Robinson is one of 5 players with 5 or more catches in 6 or more games this season. Robinson has 5 or more catches in 8 of his past 9 games and aims for his 6th game in a row with at least 5 receptions. Brian Burns has a sack in 4 of his past 5 games, while Azeez Ojulari has at least 1 sack in back-to-back games and a total of 3 over the last 2 weeks. Tyler Nubin leads all rookies in total tackles. So, talking about, once again, talk about what Nubin's done, right? He leads all rookies with tackles, right? That's a nice, right? Not bad for a rookie, for a second rounder, right? Now it stinks because you see Xavier McKinney over there was at the first 5 games of the season. He had 5 interceptions, yada yada yada. So it's kind of like, but I think we replaced them with maybe not somebody quite as good as him maybe right now, but I think we got ourselves a good pick. We got ourselves a good safety in the second round. Then you look at Phillips in the 3rd round. To get a cornerback like that in the 3rd round, wow. And then of course you got Malik Neighbors. If we can ever get a quarterback who could just start getting the ball to him, right? Wow. Could you imagine Eli Manning in his prime with Malik Neighbors there? Whew. Holy cow, Batman. Wow. So the Giants draft class was really, really good. Now we need to duplicate that again. But anyway, as I said, what's going to happen here? Who knows? The only one thing you know about the Giants so far this season is you have no idea what's going to happen. We haven't done, maybe so bad, right, on the road, right? It's at home where we're absolutely unbelievably horrible, right? So maybe, just maybe, since we're on the road, who knows? Maybe we'll play good. But, anything can happen here. If things start going south, the Steelers got a very good defense. The Giants have a hard time moving the ball, a hard time scoring, all of that and everything. It could be a long, long night. And once again, it's prime time. The Giants play horrible prime time. Daniel Jones plays horrible prime time, yada, yada, yada. So you can expect anything. Obviously, I'll be watching. I'm hoping for the best, but once again, it's the New York Football Giants and it's prime time, and anything's possible. All right, guys, been 1 hour and 34 minutes. I think that might be a record for me. Whoever spent any time listening to me live, thank you. Or if anybody's going to spend any time watching the replay, this once again, thank you so much for the bottom. It means the world to me. As always, you guys stay safe out there and go Giants. Woo! Oh, yeah.